Welcome to the Principal Podcast, where we talk about how the best professional services firms grow. Whether you're looking to scale your firm or learn from the stories of founders and leaders who've done it, you're in the right place. Join us as we interview the best leaders in professional services. Let's get on with the show. Eric, welcome to the Principal Podcast. Happy to have you.
I'm really happy to be here.
Pleasure shared. I'm not sure if that's proper English, but that's what we say in French. Eric, let's jump straight into it. What's the story? What pulled you into leadership development and workforce strategy?
Well, even in college, I knew I wanted to teach, and I loved teaching. And then I found out how much teachers get paid in high school and elementary school, and I couldn't do that. And about 5 years into my corporate career, I got a job in corporate training and training salespeople and leaders and things like that. And I loved it. And it absolutely paid no money as well. And so the training part of it, I always loved. And I've been fascinated by leadership. I've worked at two large companies, corporations in my career with huge strata of leaders. And I probably worked for 150, 200 leaders directly and indirectly in my career. And why did I bond with what I thought was a good person? Why did I repel from a person I didn't think was a good leader? And subsequently, my second corporate career was at a payroll company where I managed and dealt with hundreds of small and mid-sized companies. And two things came out of that. Number one, the lessons I learned were really valuable in translating to other companies. But also, small and mid-sized companies don't have the opportunity to develop leaders. They don't have the resources to create that type of thing. And that's when I found that was my niche. So I loved leadership. I love training. As you can already tell, I love hearing the sound of my own voice. And so I was able to combine all of those in what I do.
So all this leading to what? What is it that you're helping people achieve exactly now?
Right now, the challenges that businesses in my market, and that's generally less than 2,000 employees. I never aim to go big, compete with those big guys. I wanted my niche. The first thing is this, that they have about 70% of supervisors and managers have been hired within the last 3 years. And in our experience, with about 300, 350 businesses that are clients, about 90% of those supervisors have never been trained in how to lead. So for a long time, it was me saying, oh, your people need training in leadership, how to interview, how to assess, how to communicate. And what's really happened in the last 5 years or so is that the leaders themselves, the young new supervisors, have gone to their bosses, they've gone to business owners and said, hey, we're happy to be a manager, we're happy to be this, we've never been trained in how to do it. So for the last 3 or 4 years, incoming sales leads have greatly outweighed our outreach because people are asking for help. And when businesses get stuck, when there's too high a turnover, there's too low of a turnover, there's any of these things, the first thing you look at is what's the capability of leaders, the day-to-day direct supervisor, and what is their capability and what is their potential. And that's what elevated business leaders are looking for in terms of what I do.
So business leaders, I suspect, is the people you work with typically. Can you tell us a bit more about this? Like, do you have a specific title, industry, niche, company size? Who do you typically work with, Eric?
I'll work with anybody if they pay their bills on time, Guillaume. So that's the smart answer. But that's not untrue either. Leadership is industry agnostic. We have clients in every single industry. And now what is specific is what an individual's culture is. And I hope we can talk about that a little bit more later. But in terms of your question, an ideal client is where the CEO or the business owner, but the principal gets it. So if an HR manager calls me and says, Eric, boy, we have 20 leaders and we need a lot of training, I want to talk to that business owner. I want to talk to the CEO, because if they're not supportive of it, it's never going to succeed. So we always need that principle. So to me, it's an elevated, educated, enlightened business owner or CEO who gets it. Because otherwise, what I do is I'll be like forcing them to take their medicine every time I talk to them. And that isn't helpful. So that's really what I want. If it starts at the top, it's going to be a successful engagement.
But so how do you make sure that the business owners are actually elevated, educated, and they know that they have a problem that better leadership or better trained own leadership teams will solve? How do you make sure of that?
I don't. But before I go any further, I want to have a conversation with that business owner. And I want to be very candid. It has to be a collaboration. And I can't talk anybody into doing something they don't really want. That's too hard of a sale. But what I'll do is I'll say things like, it needs to be a collaboration. What keeps you up at night worrying about your workforce? If we were sitting in this Zoom call a year from today, what would success look like to you? And what needs to happen for that success to happen? And so I want to be able to be, with a business owner, a collaborator. And I'm also not going to set myself up for failure. If they're interested and they have 20 people, and I have a client in Northern California, it's 10 years old, husband and wife owned, and they have 20 senior leaders and about 150 employees. And I meet quarterly with that leadership group, and we spend a day and a half doing leadership stuff. But before I did that, what's your biggest problem? Can I take a look at your most recent employee engagement survey? If you don't have one, let's do one. So let's get that. I want to talk or survey the participants. What is important? What stresses you out? What don't you know that you need to know? And in that way, I can customize the training for what their specific needs are. Now, they can always send their 20 people to a $5,000 leadership webinar, but that's going to be what that company wants a business to learn, not what necessarily a business needs to learn. So I need to be able to get the CEO or the business owner to understand I'm collaborating with them. I'm not telling them what to do. And I also let them know, even though they're the client, I have to treat that business owner or CEO as an equal. So if there's a problem, I need to go to that person and say, we have a problem, or you're doing this, I think, wrong. So that's the collaboration. When that happens, it works. But I also, earlier when I said I don't want to set myself up for failure, if I have 20 people in a room, I know perfectly well 2 people are going to hate it. 10 people are going to go, okay, I got something out of this. And maybe 8 to 10 are going to really like it. My goal is to get about 90% of the participants to really like it, because I know it's not going to work for every single person. A lot of times I'll get calls from people saying, we have a real problem with this guy. Can you coach him? Well, no. How am I? What? No. You and a challenge that a lot of businesses have is there's this concept that you can train away all your problems, or you can coach all your problems away, and that's it. It has to be a mutual thing. People want to, if they want to learn, they're open to it. It's going to be a good relationship.
On your part on the presentation, one of my favorite opener of all time, when like giving a speech, is from my mentor, who starts a lot of his presentations with, I have one promise for you, which is you're either gonna hate this presentation, you're gonna potentially love it, or you're gonna be somewhere in between. Mm-hmm. This is a guarantee. And I feel it's very realistic to also understand that we're not here to please everyone. Like, there will always be some people who are reluctant, whatever you do. But making sure that you reach and impact a vast majority is what you want to optimize for. So tell me a bit more about that, Eric. How do you market? How do you brand? How do you get all those people? You mentioned that you are getting more referrals that you can actually deliver on. How do you create that demand? What has worked for you marketing-wise?
It's a great question. And I would like to be able to be an expert on this subject, but I would guess 50% of my clients have come organically. In other words, that is from a referral from an existing client or somebody heard something, fully 50%. I have done and continue to do a lot of speaking with associations. So I'm going to make a fictitious one up. The Illinois Restaurant Association. And I will go and speak for a very nominal cost to their CEOs on here's what's going on in the workforce today, or here are the biggest leadership challenges we see. I won't sell, but all of a sudden I put myself in front of 150 business owners who may be interested in what I have to say. And I've also, in going out and reaching with those organizations, they'll say, gee, we've never had a leadership program that we do as an organization for our members. Would you be willing to do this? Absolutely, I would. And it's a lot easier to sell association to association than prospect to prospect, to client to client. So I love the association. As you know, I love to speak. And that has always worked really well for me. I'm fortunate that I have been a good networker over the years. And as many people, there's no such thing as meeting a bad person. You always want to have that type of thing. And I approach it not from, I want you to be my client, but here's what I do. These are the type of people I work with. Tell me about yourself and how we can do those types of things. So speaking engagements to associations, also never speak for free. That was one of the first lessons taught to me. Even if it's $1,000, you want to charge, because then everybody will want you to speak for free. My mother lives in an assisted living home, and there's a motivational speaker who comes there once a month. And my mother said, she's fantastic. He gives an hour a month to do that. And I've met him. He's a very good speaker. I'm like, why are you doing this? Well, it's good practice. No, it's not. Because now everybody else will say, well, you spoke to that person for free. You spoke to that group for free. We want you to. No, you can never do that. I have not found my books to be great sources of referrals. What I have found is they're very good to reestablish credibility, or that, oh, he's the author of 2 books. That's a good credibility issue. But really and truly over the last 10 years, 60 to 70% of my referrals have come from existing clients or those association referrals.
How do you go about building those relationships with the associations? That's an interesting model. Tell us more about that. Like, how do you actually get in the door, present to them, and get them to refer you?
It's not as hard as you think. First of all, they're always looking for content. They're generally not creating content. I'm trying to think of a couple of other associations. I've worked with several banking associations. They don't create a lot of content. They ask people to create content for them. And they'll say, do a webinar, 1 hour webinar for this, or come to our convention in San Diego or Chicago or something like that and speak. And so I have blind called a lot of people. With my existing clients, oh, you guys are engineers. Do you belong to any engineering associations? Might you introduce me to them? So good clients are willing to help you. I'm never embarrassed to ask a client for that. As a matter of fact, for me, it's a lot easier asking a client for that type of referral than it's, hey, do you know any other business owners that could use me? Now, I've put an onus on them to do that. But almost all of them are happy to refer to their association and that type of thing.
I like the method. How do you move from this, Eric, to a conversation? Maybe a qualification, like, yes, they are elevated and dedicated. A conversation, a sales conversation, an SOW, a letter of engagement, we rock and roll. How do you think about sales motion or relationship building motion?
I like the word relationship building motion first. One of the challenges I've had in building my practice is I don't have a set program. Oh, here's a program. I come out there 4 times a year for a day and a half, and it's $25,000 or whatever the number is. It doesn't work like that. It works with me saying, what's comfortable for you? So I have a very large nonprofit in Southern California, and they said, we need some leadership training. And I'm like, I need more information. Why? What are people telling you? What are you observing? What is convenient for you? Would you like to have this once a quarter, twice a year? What does it need to look like for you? And we'll talk about that. And for this large nonprofit, it was twice a year, 2 days of training, but also augmented by little 1 hour, just quick hits on Zoom or on video that I let them record, and they can play it over and over again. So that works for them. No, we want you to do this, or we want to send our people to you, or we want you to come to Hawaii. I give discounts for clients who want me to go to Hawaii. So that
Smart.
yes, exactly. Anywhere in France works too. So I want to be able to establish that I'm not telling you what to do in terms of content, in terms of delivery, what it looks like. I want them to feel comfortable to do that. And once we do that, I'm not trying to sell them. I'm saying then this is the type of thing we would do. And if this makes sense to you, let's send over the pricing and things like that. Pricing is absolutely the last thing I want to talk about. I want to be able to identify needs and create a solution. And by the way, during that conversation, a lot of times I will be thinking, this isn't a good fit. Or I can tell they're thinking, no, I have somebody else in mind that I like better. And the one thing I would take out of that is learning no, which is one of the hardest things in sales to do, is a good thing. Because if you have doubts, it's never going to be great. Trust your instincts on that. So I'm looking for that collaboration. Then the relationship is just as you described it. It cannot be transactional. If this is another client on a chalkboard and I treat it like that, that client is never going to stick with me. If instead I'm a relationship, I'm not going to charge them extra if they call me, hey, I have a problem. Can you do this? Or can you spend an hour with this manager? He's really strict. The answer is yes. I want to be able to create value. And the way to create value is I want to be able to work with you as a collaborator. I want to be able to deliver what you need me to deliver. And I want to be able to look and be satisfied saying, hey, I'm making an impact on you. And it really needs to be both ways. And in a relationship, we're talking all the time. We're not just sending them bills or emails or things like that. I'm old school enough that I do think that meetings and video is fine and phone calls are fine, but I think that needs to be part of a relationship. Because if it comes down to just price, somebody's going to undercut me. And it can't be that. I've had this business through the Great Recession of 09 and 010 where I nearly lost the business. There's so many of my clients that either went out of business or couldn't afford anything or things like that. And the clients that stayed with me were the ones that I felt I had relationships with the CEO, or the really strong relationships as opposed to just, okay, we need this and that. So to me, a relationship is a two-way street where I become, it doesn't happen automatically, but a strategic advisor where I become a trusted person they can talk to. And they know I'm not just trying to run up bills and I'm not trying to do that type of thing. If I'm calling them or if I'm bringing something up to their attention, it's something that I think really could be of value to them.
Amen to that. And I feel that kind of tackle the retention question as well, right? It's not just how do we build a relationship that leads to the, hey, we are working together now. Yeah. It's also how do you keep on nurturing the right relationship with the right people within the organizations. That does make a lot of sense. Go ahead.
A couple of things on that. So after every training interaction I have with the leadership team, we're sending out a survey to all the participants. What did you like best? What do you never want to see again? What ideas do you have? I copy and paste that word for word and send that back to the client. I want them to, if they don't like something or there's kind of a theme, I want to have that discussion and be able to adapt. Also, at the end of every training session I have, and I learned this from a great coaching program called Strategic Coach. At the beginning of every session, every day-long session or 3-hour session, there'll be a thing in a workbook, a page that'll say the most important thing, TMIT. And I want you to go back to this page throughout this session, because at the end, the last thing I'm going to do is go to every single person in that room and say, What is the most important thing you got today? Whether it's from me or a colleague or something you heard or a throwaway comment. And what happens at the end of that is that it reinforces, I did get something out of this today. And that's a value add. That's a value creation for them.
I like your style, Eric, and I also like your taste in shirt colors. So I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball question at you now. What is your number one challenge right now? What is that one nut that you're trying to crack that you know once you crack, you're gonna take the whole thing to the next level?
Yeah.
What would that be for you?
It's almost the same thing. Over the last year and a half, the biggest challenge I've had is uncertainty in the economy and the workforce. And I saw this again a number of years ago during the Great Recession, as it was just about to hit. And when it hit, business owners didn't know what to do. CEOs were like, we don't know what to do. We should hire this replacement for this employee who just left, but we want to wait a bit to see what happens. And stagnation, the inability to make a decision that is both basically out of my control and out of the control of the business owner or the CEO, is a real challenge. And 2025 was a year I was particularly happy to turn the page on, because there was too much of that, both with my existing clients and with potential new clients. We really want this, but we don't know if we can afford the time to do it. We don't know if we can afford the commitment of money. We don't know yet. And I'm pretty happy in the first half of this year, it has been significantly better. And an attitude has been more and more of, well, we don't know what's going to happen, but we need this anyway, so let's go forward. So that has been a challenge. And again, if my goal with a client is to be Eric, the trusted advisor, I cannot be viewed as Eric, the hardcore salesman. I can't be viewed at that. So I can't push too hard. I can't be following up every week saying, have you made a decision yet? Have you made a decision yet? I can't be that person, because everything else I advise for the rest of their lives are, is he trying to make money out of this? I can't have that. The biggest challenge I see going on again in the future is also a huge amount of uncertainty. AI is scaring the crap out of a lot of people. And this unknown in the future is going to be a challenge. I've spent a lot of time talking with clients and giving speeches about how right now AI isn't replacing the manager, who needs to act with empathy and understand people and be able to be ethical and all the things that are keys to leaders. Right now, AI doesn't replace that. And right now, leaders are there. And I was around in, there's always been technology changes. There's always going to be this thing. There are still plenty of workers. My great-grandparents and most people in America in the late 1800s were farmers. 90% of the population was farmers. Nobody's a farmer anymore. We're in an information age. I'm not worried about the economy broadly speaking, but if you have a business that is catered to one area, yeah, there's a lot of concern. On the other hand, change and adaptation is what needs to happen. And the way I teach leadership and the issues that my clients have today with leadership management and managing the workforce, they're going to be entirely different in 5 years. And that's exciting. That's going to be awesome. And that's what I talk to a lot of people about. We'll adapt.
I really like the honesty here, Eric. Like it's I feel everybody sees AI as both an opportunity and a threat, right? This is not new. This has been said many, many times on the podcast. But yeah, it's frightening. I agree with you. It's like, and as in all frightening times, there are lots of opportunities rising, and it's up to us to grab them and to make sure that we keep the human at the center of it all.
Yes.
Trusted advisor. Are you referring to the book by Charles Green, like The Trusted Advisor, or is that just something that you feel you want to be like a trusted advisor?
I know the book. It's not based on the book, but that's how I view myself. I view myself as a trusted advisor, a leadership trainer, a workforce strategist. I want to be able to analyze what the workforce looks like, what every specific need is based on a company or even a division within a company, to be able to analyze that and say, here's what we see. Here are 20 solutions. knowing again, a bunch of them are going to be horrible and they're going to hate them, and that's okay. And then being able to say, here's some ways to implement this. These are ways to do this. And call me when you have a question or there's a doubt or there's a problem. And I want to be that person. I want to be that go-to person. Again, not because of anything else except I trust your judgment. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Eric Swenson, ladies and gentlemen. Eric, if people want to find out more about you, see what you do, where should they go?
The website is swensonleadership.com, SWENSON, swensonleadership.com, and everything on the website is available.
We will put all the links in the description. I can say one thing for sure, Eric, is that you've gained at least one new connection on LinkedIn out of this interview. Me, I've just added you. Eric, thank you so much for coming.
You just made my day with that. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the Principal Podcast. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Principal Podcast. We hope you learned valuable strategies to grow your firm and take your business to the next level. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you're listening to this show so you never miss an episode. To apply and be a guest on the show, click the link in the description. See you next time. How